So, talking about the full moon in Gemini for all 12 signs. So, this is a good time to reflect on those Gemini principles. Again, this full moon in Gemini is opposite the sun in Sagittarius, which is bringing inspiration and hope and teachings and the things we believe. Doesn't mean that the things we believe are necessarily true, but they inspire us. In fact, even if they're wrong at times, they give us hope and inspiration. But now we're seeing a lot of those hopes and inspirations be tested and challenged, including our teachers maybe, and those things that, again, we're having to look at those things with more discrimination and scrutiny. And that helps us see if our teachings and our ideas match up. And so, again, this is the greatness of Gemini, is to test those teachings, even those teachers who, dispense the teachings, and see if there's alignment, okay? And so for each of the 12 signs, you'll experience this differently. Of course, that's from your sidereal rising sign. So we'll start with Aries. This full moon in Gemini is in your third house, opposite the Sagittarius, which is your ninth house. So again, this brings a lot of focus on what inspires you. This is a lot of what's happening now. Aries, you're really looking to be inspired and say, yes, this is the thing that's going on that is giving me direction, with that sun in Sagittarius. But now this full moon in Gemini is like, well, but I don't know. Does it really make sense? Am I just kind of believing in things that are not really accurate? And you might be getting into, battles and struggles and trying to figure out and hopefully be willing to adjust those beliefs. Because that's the third house for you, Aries, and the third house is about new ways of looking at things, new interests, even friends, and people that you even sort of compete with for ideas. You're all sort of questioning each other. Maybe you're getting into conflict even, as a way to challenge and test and be willing to adapt and adjust. So there's also new interests and new skills that you might be developing at this time, Aries. So again, this is to get you out of your old way of doing things and just sort of trusting that it's all working out the way it's supposed to. No, it's not all working out maybe the way it's supposed to, and there are things that I can do to make things better. First, I have to understand what's different about my philosophies now. Then I need to do something with it and maybe develop some new skills. So for you, Aries, that's really coming out right now. For Taurus, this is happening. The sun has been going through your eighth house of change, turmoil, ups and downs, shocking disclosures even that are transformative. Now this full moon in your second house is about adjusting, and also, because it's in Gemini, but the second house has to do with money, wealth, values, and really doubling down on your values, Taurus, and making sure that in the midst of the change and uncertainty around your philosophies, there's principles that are built into your life and that are surrounding you, your everyday surroundings, and those things that are stable and solid in your life. That includes like your family members. Your core values are still intact, and those core values will sustain you through the change and transformation that you're going through right now. So for Gemini, of course, this is your first house. So the sun going through your seventh house is the thing that's furthest away from you, so you maybe feel a lot of energy being put into other people, maybe relationships, romantic partners, and things like that. But opposite that is this full moon in your first house. First house, again, is about your own identity, feeling your own heart, feeling your own your own intuition, your own intuitive sense about things, rather than just trusting other people or having other people be the focal point. This full moon in your first house, Gemini, is about your own wishes and your own feelings and your own intuition and following that. Cancer, this full moon is happening in your 12th house, which is about trusting things will work out, not having to control everything. Again, because because the sun is going through your 6th house, Cancer, and the 6th house is about service, devotion, trusting that things are working out, service, and I should say hard work, right? Because the 6th house is where we have to work hard and be of service to something. And we have to serve it, but often we feel like a servant, and it can be difficult. So for you, Cancer, there could be quite a bit of effort and hard work right now. It feels like you're working through some issues and some difficulties. This full moon in the 12th house is saying, well, you just got to trust that it's all working out. It's all going to work out. It's all working out somehow. It's not just hard work and effort. There are things that you can't control, and you need to just surrender and relax with those things, no matter what you do. So again, this balancing act between effort and hard work and trusting that it's all working out. So for Leo, this full moon is in your 11th house, which has to do with large groups of people, service to the culture, to the community, things that are beyond your personal inspirations. And this is because, the sun is going through your 5th house of personal inspiration, your heart's desire, what motivates you, what inspires you. And beyond that 5th house inspiration and heart's desire, which is a big part of what's going on now, you're realizing that the culmination of that is something that everyone can benefit from, not just that inspires you and makes you happy, but something that's more universal. So not just about, like, for example, your kids or things that you love, but how you have to turn that passion into something that's universal. So that's important for you right now, Leo, universalizing your desires and passions. You're feeling that during this full moon in Gemini. Virgo, you're experiencing a 4th house transit right now, 4th house cycle. The 4th house has to do with your home, your heart, what's deep inside, your emotions, your feelings, how that's a great source of strength, like the roots of the tree, but how it can also be kind of hiding out from the world. This full moon is saying, okay, but now how am I contributing? What's the external pressure and the duties and responsibilities that I'm willing to take on? And are my duties and responsibilities in alignment with my deeper nature? So again, this full moon is in your 10th house, Virgo, which has to do with work and career and pressure. And you're measuring how much that pressure externally is in alignment with your internal heart space and how they're related. Libra, this full moon is happening in your 9th house of teachings, higher gurus, higher wisdom, what inspires you, and trusting in the universal consciousness and the higher philosophies. Now that's opposite the sun, which has been going through your 3rd house of your own desires, your own ideas, your own opinions, right? So for you, Libra, you've been really in a cycle the last few weeks of really trying to figure things out for yourself, again, through your own ideas, your own skills and intelligence. Now this full moon is saying, yeah, but don't forget the bigger picture. Don't forget those teachings and those inspirations and that higher wisdom and philosophy behind it all. Otherwise, you're just going to lose yourself in all your individual ideas and get stuck in that. which is very much the ego. Then Scorpio, this full moon is happening in your 8th house, which has to do with change, transformation, letting go. And as things get obliterated and destroyed, so to speak, sort of letting it go, but going deeper into those hidden mysteries, those hidden parts of your own psyche and your own fears, your fear of letting go, your fear of not being in control. This is a big thing of what's happening now for you, Scorpio, and that's opposite the 2nd house, which is where the sun has been. The sun has been in your 2nd house, which is those things you can control and that you must control. Your environment, your thoughts, speech, food, daily habits and routines, the people around you, the close, intimate people around you. So in the midst of that, you're looking at your comfort zone and realizing that some of that is a sort of trap to some extent, and the need to break out of your comfort zone and embrace uncertainty. For you, Sagittarius, this full moon is happening in your 7th house of other people, because you're going through a transit where the sun has been going through your 1st house, which is your own desires, or I should say your own identity, not really desires, but your own truthful identity, your own unique identity, your own unique nature, Sagittarius. That's important now with the sun there. You've been really focusing on your authentic self, Sagittarius. But opposite that is the moon's reflection now coming back and noticing what other people have to say about it. What do they say about your identity? And how do you not lose yourself in their reflection? This is where we lose ourselves, is in other people's reflection, in wanting their approval, wanting to not disappoint them, wanting to be liked by them, and all that stuff. So this is a big thing for you right now, Sagittarius, is your truthful, unique self, your truthful nature in response to the reflection that comes back. So you might be feeling that pressure from others right now. And Capricorn, this full moon is happening in your 6th house, which is opposite the sun going through your 12th house. The sun going through your 12th house, Capricorn, is about letting go, releasing, and surrendering, trusting that everything is going to work out. That's a big cycle that you're going through right now, Capricorn, is this cycle of letting go and sort of embracing the sort of dream state, the state where you're not really even in this body. Because next month, the sun's going into your 1st house, Capricorn, and that'll be about your identity. But right now, it's letting go and trusting that everything is working out. But this full moon is in your 6th house, which is saying, yeah, but you're still here on this earth. You can't just tune out. You have work and effort and things that need to be done, and you need to do them. And so this full moon in your 6th house is about being able to show up for the unpleasant, difficult tasks and not just kind of tune out from that. And Aquarius, this full moon is happening in your 5th house, which has to do with your inspirations, your heart's desire, which also comes in the form of like children and things like that. But opposite that is the sun in the 11th house, which shows that you're really working through this cycle of being more of a universal being, Aquarius. You know, for the last few weeks, you've been really focused on your public life, where you can serve in a higher sense. So this full moon is bringing out this idea that, yeah, but I need to be inspired by what I'm serving. Otherwise, I just feel like a servant rather than being of service. So connecting your heart's desire and inspiration with a higher cause is important for you, Aquarius. And then Pisces, this full moon is happening in your 10th house of work, career, public life, duty, pressure. So that, I'm sorry, the sun has been there, excuse me. The sun has been going through your 10th house, and this full moon is opposite that now. For you Pisces, it's in your 4th house. So the full moon now is really drawing you inward, Pisces, to say, okay, but what's my inner feelings, my emotions, the roots of my tree? Because the sun has been going through your 10th house, which is saying, what are my duties and responsibilities, and what am I willing to stand for and step up for? And when we're not sure of what's in our heart, when we're not sure, then we're not sure of our duties and our responsibilities and what we're willing to be responsible for. Because then what happens is we think we're ready to feel responsible for this thing, but then as soon as it starts to get hard, people might challenge us or this or that, and then emotionally we're not grounded, and we then give up. So you got to connect with what's in the heart, Pisces, which is what you're feeling in this full moon. Really connect with what's in your heart and let that be a deep root system, the roots, so that when you step up and go, yes, this is what's important to me, even when people maybe shoot arrows at you or don't like it or whatever, you're like, no, I know this is my nature, and I'm not going to waver just because people don't like it or whatever it might be. Okay? So that's how this full moon in Gemini for all 12 signs comes out.